So people always ask me, how do you find a painting? How do you know it's a good painting?
Good.
How do you know? You know, nowadays we have the cell phone, we can look up the artist. But, you know, before you look up the artist, if there's a million people behind, or a million people in front of the thrift store counter, and somebody's grabbing a painting, you just want to grab it because you know it's a good painting. So how do you tell if it's a good painting? Well, let me give you a couple hints how I've been trained and how it's worked for me. First of all, you look at what the artist intended. What's the artist's intention? The artist's intention here is to show reality as close to real as possible. You know, if before you study or have a doctorate in art history, you'd look at it and say, well, it's realism, right? It's a landscape. So it's realism. Realism is always, we're trained in the Western way to see foreground, midground, background. So is his foreground right? Is his midground right? Is his background right? Yeah, kind of. Is his detail in the front telling enough about the detail to lead us into the painting? I would say no. I would say the detail's weaker. Now, here's the big clue. Here's what I do. Flip it upside down, Viha. What I do when I'm looking at a painting is I always look at it upside down. And when I look at a painting upside down, what am I looking for? Well, think composition, exactly. Think of your favorite poem, right? Think right now of your favorite poem. Think about dropping one line out of that poem, just one line. It falls apart. So composition in art is always the same. Nothing should be taken away and nothing can be added. So composition is perfect no matter if you're looking at it. Okay, now you're going to say, I already saw it right side up, and it's sort of like those Rorschach tests where your eyes are making the adjustment. So squint. Look at it and squint. See, can you read the composition? Look at it like you look at an abstract piece of art. What do you think? Does it work? I don't think it does. I don't think it's a strong enough composition. And when I say that, I'm thinking it's more programmatic as a work of art. It's more, what do you call it? It's what we would expect if someone said, it's predictable, which is great. You know, Corot is predictable. There's artists that are predictable. They've made a strength at being predictable. Well, to me, that's a good painting, but it's not a great painting. So would I grab it? I probably wouldn't, but you know, it is not a bad painting. That's before I look up the artist and before I do anything as regards the celebrity of the artist. I look to see what I think of the composition. Another way you can do this, let's see. Another way you can do this, if you already have it in your mind that the landscape is the landscape. What you can do to fool yourself and test the composition is take one thing out of the composition. So I always carry like a little index card with me, and let's take one thing out. Is it a good painting still? Is it an average to good painting still? Yeah, it's okay. It makes sense. It needs some focus, but there's the focal point. You know, it's okay. I mean, this doesn't add a whole heck of a lot. So I experiment with that, and I say, now, the composition is the artist's tour de force. I mean, it's abstract. It's not the representation. It's the composition that makes a painting. Why? Because it's two dimensions. Painting is two dimensions, period. And it's the artist's strength in composition. So if you said to me, well, what's the value before you look up the artist? I would say the value is around 1,000 to 2,000 on the painting. I think if it was a great painting, you know, we'd be up there. We'd be 5,000, 10,000, et cetera, for a landscape. I will tell you also, landscapes right now are not popular. You know, they're a hard sell.